So today we are continuing our series on adding depth to your props and armor and things when you're doing weathering. So today we're going to talk about how we do like paint chipping when you want to get some realistic depth. But first I'm going to show you a way that is pretty common that a lot of people do. This is just a piece of floor mat that I painted red. The really common like after the fact paint chipping way, which works perfectly fine, we've done it on some of our armor and stuff, is you get some metallic paint and you kind of just do this edge. Was it still not loading for you? Weird.
It's bothering me.
You can get some scratches, stuff like that. I'm gonna do some dry brushing kind of stuff. And for a lot of things, that's the level of, chipping and scratching and stuff you do. Just like with any weathering and stuff like I was talking about last time, though, like doing variations of different metals and doing it in layers will, add to the realisticness. Hello again, Avatar props.
Oh, hello.
Welcome back. But yeah, so that's kind of the standard for paint chipping stuff is doing this stuff kind of over top of your paint, which is a fine way to do it. It looks, especially from, if you're going for the 10-foot rule, that looks like the paint's chipped off, right? No problem. Looks good. It's good, and you can see I did that in like 5 seconds, and it's good to go. But I'm going to talk about some other methods that I like to use that add depth and take it kind of to the next level. So the first thing you're going to want to do if you're going to do this method is you're going to prep your surface. And again, I'm just using a bunch of pieces of floor mats. We are doing well. As well as can be expected. We just found out today that schools are closed to the end of the year, so
They're never going back.
They're never going back. So you want to prep your surface, whatever it is, foam, if it's like a more rigid thing like a thermoplastic, 3D print, whatever. Prep it, and then you're going to do your base coat of metallic paint as the base layer. So there it is. So that you want to think of what kind of metal your thing is, your prop or helmet or whatever is made out of. So I just did some silver paint over a piece of foam. And then what I like to use is you can just get this art masking fluid. It's available on Amazon or at most art stores. This one is for watercolor, for masking stuff. And it's basically liquid latex. See, all gooey and gummy. Yum. And I like to use these little micro brushes for this because they're throwaway, and this stuff will gum up your brush pretty good and kind of kill it. So what you do is you take this and you put it over the silver where you want chips to be later on in the process. So a lot of stuff in the corners. Let's see if angled a little bit, see it better. So I'll do a lot of stuff in the corners, along the edges. Again, you can do like some scratch marks if you want. You can do like little chips from like buckshot or something. Little things along the edges and the corners, etc. You want to kind of think about it ahead of time because you're going to do this, let this dry, and then go to the next step. And at this point, whatever you do now is what's going to be your final result at the very end of the process. So this is a real easy way to do it. Some people will use other stuff like I've heard, and I've never tried any of these, but I know a lot of people have had success. People have used mustard, toothpaste, some weird stuff, but if it works, it works. Another technique, and the nice thing about using like the liquid latex is you can use it whether you're airbrushing or like hand brushing stuff. Another technique that works mostly with airbrushing, but you can do it with hand brushing, and our final result I did a little bit of both so we can see how it turns out. It's called paint chipping, and it does give you a little bit different result. I just have some water and a paintbrush, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side that I did on that side. So I'm going to hit the corners here with a little bit of water. Water? Why water? What the heck am I doing? Put some water here.
Why water, Will?
What is water going to do for anything? Well, after I put the water on there, I'm going to take some salt. Yep, just some salt.
Salt?
You want something that's kind of coarse-ish, and you're just going to sprinkle it on here. And it should stick to wherever you put the water. If you want, you can go back and just drop a little bit of water on that salt, and it'll help kind of stick it on there. And then you can, so you can kind of see, I hope. There we go. You can see here where the salt stuck to the water even after I tapped off the extra. And so that's salt chipping, and you'll see what the result of that looks like later too, along with the latex. So that's step one. And you can use a hair dryer to help it dry faster, or you can just let it wait and sit. Once it dries, it'll be, if you're using this masking fluid, it'll just be kind of it'll still be a little shiny, but it will be a dull tan color. So we're going to set that aside. We're going to do this cooking show style, so I'm going to have the next step already ready, so you don't have to wait for it to dry. While we're here, I'm going to get rid of that salt. Bye-bye salt.
Making a mess.
So, another thing you can use, and I did do a test of this on the very final thing, so we'll get to see the difference if there is one. If you have any experience or are familiar with creature cast, you could use that instead of latex, especially if you have a latex allergy. So creature cast is a good option as well. Creature cast rubber. It is a neoprene rubber, and this particular one that we have is the semi-rigid off-white. So it looks a lot like the liquid latex, the off-white. It's a little bit whiter than that, but it looks very much the same. But you can use this to coat all kinds of stuff. Small tangent. This is the helmet that I talked about last time that I'm making for my son. I put a coat. This is just with one coat of the creature cast on it. Come on, focus camera. There we go, sort of. I just brushed it on with a foam brush. The nice thing about creature cast, if you've never used it, compared to like Plasti Dip or something, is that you can actually sand it and make it smooth pretty nicely. So you can do a coat, sand a little bit, do more coats. You can also tint it with acrylic paints and stuff. This I just did it as a base layer because I'm actually going to test airbrushing plaid effects on this later. But so I did that as just a base coat. But creature cast is great because it's non-toxic, cleans up easily with water, it dries quick. You can speed up the process with just a hair dryer because it just dries via evaporation. But it gives you a nice coat that can be sanded and everything, and it's really good stuff. You can airbrush it after you tint it. Yeah, it's cool stuff. We really like it. We've been using it a little bit. I'm also going to use it. You can also put it over fabric. So I'm going to use it when I make our Ahsoka montrails because we're going to make them out of fabric, stuff them, and then coat them with the creature cast. So it has that silicone latex feel and mobility to it, but it will be made out of fabric and creature cast. So it's totally, well, I wouldn't say totally hypoallergenic, but compared to like latex ones, it will be a lot less prone to causing allergic reactions in people. Okay, so that's drying. We're gonna pretend I pulled it out of the oven now. So the next step is, I wasn't supposed to leave my sticky note on there. So the next step is after it dries, you're going to want to put your first coat of paint. So you can kind of see where the latex was before I painted it. What I like to do, you can do more layers in this, but for this, I'm just going to do 2 layers. So what I like to do is get 2 colors and you can get two colors, or you can mix your paints, but two of the same color, but that are slightly different in tone or vibrance, just so that they look a little off. So I got these two different reds. One's just a cheap dollar store acrylic paint set that we got for the kids, but this is red, and this is Blick Deep Red, or red deep. I don't like that. It should be deep red. But anyway, so you can see they're both reds, but they're slightly different colors. And the reason for that is because, and if you want it, you can even go, depending on the look you're going for, you can go with totally different colors. I've done like hunter green with like a bright blue. And the idea is to think of whatever your piece is, like if this was a piece of armor, it was painted originally the factory color, and then somebody painted it, touched up the paint and painted another color over top of it. And, what are the chances that the paint color the second time is going to be exactly the same, even if you're trying to match it? So that's why I like to do like two of a similar color. But you can also be like, they repainted this a totally different color. And then when you get your chips and scratches, what you'll see is you get to see kind of a little bit of the different layers. And that's where you get the depth. So the next step, after you have done one layer of the latex or whatever your masking material is, paint it, let it dry, and then you're going to take and do another layer of this. And so the trick here is that what you want to do is you want to go on the same spots that you did before, and don't match it exactly, just kind of go a little messy near what you're doing. And so what that's going to do is it's going to make your edges, when we take the masking material off later, after your other coat or coats of paint, and you're going to want to do this between each coat of paint. It'll make it so that the edges where the paint is gone and the bare metal underneath shows through doesn't quite line up, and so you get layers of paint. So because if you get a chip in your paint, it's going to go through, usually it'll go through all the layers of paint. If you don't want it to go through all the layers of paint, you can actually add a spot, like right here, there isn't any latex, so I'm just going to add a couple little things here, because then when that comes off later, it'll actually just be the two tones of red and none of the bare metal underneath. But here's a spot. So you just go around and do that on any of those spots that you want to have that little added depth. Now, I'd say don't do all of them, or maybe just do a little tiny bit on some of them versus completely covering them. And be random about it. So again, now we're going to wait. So I'm going to set that aside to dry, and then, okay, it's dry. And so here we go. This is one layer of latex, one layer of paint, and then a second layer of latex. And this is all dried on there. So I'm going to take my second color of red. Oh, I hate those goobers on there. Squirt some of that out. I'm going to use my big brush for this. Speed things along. And you can see, now you can really see the difference in the reds. So I'm just going to go over top of this whole thing. You can really see where the latex is too, which is nice. And I'm just doing a quick brushed single coat on this. But again, you could do this with airbrush. You could do it with hand brushing. It'll work either way, pretty much the same. However true to color you want that to be. And there you go. So now you're painted, and you have two layers of paint, two different shades, and you're going to let that dry. Or actually, you don't even need to let it dry. It depends on how messy you want to get, but you don't have to let it dry. You could do it while it's still wet, but this is the final piece. This one's all dry. So what I have here is all of the spots on about this third, we're done with the masking fluid. All of the spots on the middle third, we're done with creature cast. And you can see, once they're painted over, you pretty much can't even tell them apart on this. And then over here you can see that I have some of the salt chipping on that third. So what we're going to do is take... I need... an X-Acto works pretty well. Or if you have like some of those fine point tweezers, that's also another good option for this. But what we're going to do is just going to go in here. Because sometimes, depending on the material, you can do it with just like your finger. I don't know how it'll work on the phone. It's not liking my finger. So I'm going to try with the X-Acto blade. But what you're trying to do is get in here. Come on. This does work better with the hard surface because the foam is like moving away from it, and I'm trying to not stab through to the foam. Here we go. I'm getting it. There we go. But you just want to, anyway, you want to keep doing that same thing and just go around to all of the places that you have this stuff and peel it off. And the edges are going to look a little bit rough, and that's good because that's what you want. Oh, see, I knew I was going to do that. I stabbed the foam and peeled part of it off. Another thing to keep in mind is that this also works better on a glossier surface. So, I just did a quick coat of silver paint on this foam. I probably should have spent more time making it a higher gloss surface before I did the latex. It is kind of fun and satisfying to peel this stuff off, though. But you can see, like, there's the multi-layers of colored here, pretty much all over. And, like, the jaggedy edges and stuff. So it literally, in this case, gives depth because you have at least, in this case, 3 layers of paint over your base. So it actually looks like, this got scratched, but it didn't go through all the layers.
Hi, Shop Goblin.
Completely. Hello. Welcome. So now I'm going to go over here to the salt chip spot, and I've actually never done this but with hand brushing. I've always done it with airbrushing when I've done salt chipping, and that was always on like models and stuff. So I don't know how this is going to work. Let's see. It's just salt. It should just come right off. Do. Oh, yeah. Sitting down with a drink would be nice. Maybe I'll do that after this.
Do we have any wine left?
Yeah, we do have some wine left. I know.
Where's the precious alcohol?
That wine has lasted for a while, but I don't think it's not going to last much longer at the rate we're going right now.
No.
Okay, so that's that all off. And let's see if I can get it to zoom in again for a decent amount of time instead of 5 seconds.
I have no idea what's going on.
Now I don't remember. I don't know what the trick was that I made it do it before. So you can see with the salt chipping over here on the side that it looks a lot more pitted and rough compared to like the latex. So depending on what you want, like this would be good for, actually now I'm thinking about it. I'm going to take, do I have any of that left over from the other day? I'm going to just take like, look, it's a throwback.
You're a throwback. Wait. No.
No. I'm going to take that and look, there's my sanding block again. And I'm going to make some rust.
That sounds like a drink of champions.
Make a rust?
No. What
Oh.
Goblin's drinking.
Pomegranate Italian soda with cheap blueberry vodka. Oh, that sounds delicious right now. Honestly. So there, I made some weathering powder with my cheap
powder.
soft pastels. I like having a cheering section in the back. That's nice. So I'm gonna just take this.
Don't mind me. Just peanut gallery.
So you kind of get in here. Most of the metallic on that kind of got lost, but can do the same thing as last time with like a little bit of water with the powders to add depth.
He would tell you he is that old.
I'm the old man. That's me.
Here, I brought you a gift. It's your banana for scale.
Okay. Did you realize that my hands were this giant?
So
Banana for scale. Look at that. I can think of some other things I'd like to use this for scale against.
I thought this was a family show.
What? I didn't. It is.
Smuggler's drink.
I was talking about like our cat or
Uh-huh.
like how tall our kids are. What did you think I meant? I mean, Now who's the problem, Heather?
Sorry. And it's me. I admit it. It's totally me. The hammer.
You get what looks like real rust because there's actually stuff on there. So I like rust. I like doing rust. Works really well with the paint chipping because it actually looks more like the paint and the metal got kind of chewed up by the oxidation. Especially if you go back and put in some of the powders and stuff, because then it actually looks like there's some rust chips in there. Rust chips? Flakes? Rust flakes, not chips.
Because it disintegrates,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, okay.
So yes, there's a nice little rusty hole. Extreme close up. So yeah, so there's the rust and the pitted paint from the salt. So you can see there's places where like I didn't coat it completely, or like I went over on top of the first paint but on the second. So you get that depth of layers. So you have your metallic and then your two different coats of paint. And like I said, you'll get like these little flappy edges like this here, and you can leave them or pick them off or whatever. But any of that stuff. But so you can see this looks a lot more realistic than if I had just painted all of those things straight on top.
Chad is lurking.
Dude, oh, hi, Chad. So you can see again, right? So from let's pretend this is 10 feet away. If you're looking at a costume, I mean, they're pretty much identical, right? Like you can't really tell. There's not a whole lot of difference from far away. But when you get up close, you can see the difference in what paint on top of the metal paint on top looks like versus the multi-layered stuff over here. So there you go. Adding depth to your weathering, part 2. gonna take some of this off now. Oh yeah, that's good.
Gooey.
Well, the still not all the way dry, but whatever. It's okay. Still get the general idea, I think. So there again. And, how much you want to clean it up versus leave it messy changes the effect. But there you go. So there's some scratches, and you get the red and the yellow side by side. And like I said, you can get rid of these flakes, or leave them on for some added depth. There you go. Oh, come on. Focus. There you go. So look, looks like a little baby rocket raccoon scratched my armor.
Okay.
I don't know. That's the first thing that came to mind of what would scratch my armor.
Okay.
I have no idea, okay? Apparently I need sleep. More than I realize.
I got nothing. My brain just went pop.
Yeah, I don't know. We were up pretty late last night.
Yeah. 2:30.
I don't even know. Oh yeah, that was a big one. Oh yeah, and don't be afraid to make it as big as you want. It doesn't have to be little tiny things. You can get big old... Oh, that paint is not dry yet. Big old hefty ones like that. But yeah, so there's a... I mean, heck, you can let the paint not dry on purpose even if you wanted to. And get some cool added effects. Yeah, so that makes it a lot easier to see the layers though with varied color. But yeah, so you can imagine with, layering colors like this, you can get all different kinds of effects. High contrast, blendy, whatever. And you can do more than 2 layers too. So if something's really, really, really old, I mean, I know I've had to strip paint on things where there was, 50 coats of paint. So you could, in theory, do this in as many layers, as many colors as you want. I mean, I wouldn't go crazy since you're covering most of your paint that you put on here in future layers. But yeah, I mean, if something's old, doing 3 or 4 layers of this definitely wouldn't be out of place.
Now he's putting Bob Ross in it.
Come on. Oh, here we go.
Happy little paint peelings.
Oh gosh. Oh god, the yellow and red were maybe not the best choice for this. Because it looks like skin and blood.
Awesome.
It really, at least on this, I don't know what the color on the screen I know is wrong because it doesn't look anything like what's in my...
Oh, it's quite yellow on my phone.
It doesn't look anything like what's in my hand, but I don't know. So I don't know what it actually looks like for everybody else. I don't know if it's just the monitor on this thing.
Over weather now, he says. Don't go overboard!
So there we go. So here's the multicolor, finished one. Paint chips. And then here's the two-tone red one, but same thing. See the
Shopgoblin has a very good point.
layers and things.
Again.
Oh yeah, look how cool that looks. I love it. For some reason that makes me think of Gears of War. I don't know why. That's what came into my head. Ugh. If I do it really close, it looks like a crater of Mars. I don't think I can do it that close. It won't focus, will it? Let's see. Oh my gosh. This will actually focus so much closer than I thought.
Actually, when you hit that paint with the heat gun, it did this.
No, I didn't. This isn't the heat gun one. This is from the salt.
No. Sorry.
Oh.
My video's catching up. I'm not even actually looking at what you're doing.
You're talking about this
No,
one?
the yellow one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It cracked the paint.
It like crackled the paint a little bit, which adds to it,
Yeah.
I think.
That's a cool... yeah, it's added weathering. Because, yeah, it dried the paint too fast. But that's okay. That looks cool.